Hello, friends. How are you? Welcome to Taurus season. This is literally a once in a lifetime Taurus season. New moon in Taurus. If you found my channel and this video, my biggest wish, my biggest sincerest wish is if there's just going to be one video and one live stream that you watch of mine, it's this one and the one I'm planning to do Tuesday evening at the new moon. Except for probably a handful of us, none of us has experienced a new moon in Taurus like the one we're going to experience tomorrow night. You can tell I'm already holding on to some of my rocks, crystals, because it is such a jolt. I was very excited and looking forward to this until I started looking at the charts, and not to be a Debbie Downer or anything. I sincerely want all of you, pray that all of you just really stay centered and calm and peaceful Monday and Tuesday as we get into this new moon, and then we're going to get through this new moon together and follow up on it because it is extraordinarily consequential. The reason why it is extraordinarily consequential is because this is the first time since the 1930s we've had a new moon in Taurus with the planet Uranus there. Uranus is the planet of upheaval, sudden changes, record changes. Uranus is exactly what February and March felt like in this country, how our worlds just flipped upside down in a heartbeat. Suddenly, record losses in the Dows, record numbers of cases of the cerveza virus. Yes, new viewers, I have to say cerveza virus because otherwise I get demonetized using that other word. But anyway, it changed everything. It changed everything globally. Now, that stuff was already set into motion if you've been following my videos since January, talking about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. But the record swiftness, change, dramatic shifts, leaving people stunned and just kind of wiping out, that was the work of Uranus, fueled by Mars to create explosive change. I don't want to scare anybody. I have to be honest with you. The last time we had Uranus in Taurus was in the 1930s during the Depression. We're not in a good place right now financially. Taurus is ruled by the sign of Venus. Venus is a money sign. It's love, it's friendship, it's all those things that are comforting and beautiful. But in this area of the chart, it's a fixed sign. It has to do with income and gain. It has to do with our values. The stock market has been doing a little bit better since Venus went into Gemini. It's in a good place. It is in Gemini right now, over here. But Venus is going to go retrograde. It's going to go retrograde, I think, around May. I don't know when exactly, May through June. I think it ends June 25th. But anyway, so Venus is moving slowly right now before she begins her retrograde period. It's just Venus, looking at the planet Venus from Earth in relation to the sun, it's actually just, it's an optical illusion. It looks like Venus is moving backwards. It's not. It just has to do with our angle and how we see Venus. It's kind of like if you're stopped at a stoplight and the person next to you starts moving and you're not sure in those moments if you took your foot off the brake? Are you rolling backwards? Are they going forward? It's just kind of that perception that's wrong, that's backwards. That's how Venus looks from planet Earth, if you could, have a cosmic perspective of it. And it stays like that. Well, when Venus is retrograde, that is a time where she's weak. She can't do her job. She's taking a nap. She's kind of recharging herself. What I've noticed in past Venus retrogrades is this is when the Republican Party is their most offensive, obscene when it comes to legislation and women meaning Venus, and their children. It's their most callous time. Mitch McConnell has Venus retrograde in his chart. If that gives you an example of how Venus, the lack of love, the soul, total selfishness is expressed. He has Venus retrograde in his chart. When Facebook went public, they had Venus retrograde in their chart. It coincided with the transit of the sun. And I'll just say that at the time, people were saying Facebook's stock was overvaluated. He lost some money for a while until, he had some, the Russians essentially picked up all the stock and blew it up because that's how they were able to take control of that and then use that as we headed into the elections. The Venus retrograde was in 2012, I believe. And then 6 months later, because the transit of Venus is like an eclipse, I couldn't understand how Venus retrograde would affect women and children. And 6 months later, we had the Sandy Hook shooting and an exact eclipse click point. So we have this extraordinarily important new moon in Taurus because Taurus is ruled by Venus. Everything we do at the new moon with our intentions and our wishes, that's what pre-paves the cosmic energies for us as we make our intentions and follow through with our goals for the month. And I am going to make those new moon wishes with you on Tuesday night, okay? So you're going to have to bring pen and paper because it only works if, I don't know why, but it only works if you write things down by hand, okay? I mean, it works otherwise, but that's your most powerful focus with your energies. So it is so important for you to get off on the right foot at this new moon in Taurus on Tuesday night. I think it's at like 10:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because you have to be in control of the Venus energy once it's released. Number one, it's not strong because it's going to go retrograde. Number two, the sun is now in Taurus. It's ruled by Venus. Venus-related things have dominion over the chart. So what are some Venus-related things? Well, Taurus will have the sun. Taurus has the planet Uranus right there. And the 7th house of partnerships, we the people. So that means Uranus is going to be active by virtue of Venus, by way of what she represents. Money, income, gains, children, women, female women in your life. And being close to the sun, it's going to be active right away. And because Uranus near the sun is going to be active right away, Uranus is ruled by Aquarius. So we also have to look at the other planets and asteroids that are in Aquarius. And that would be Saturn at 1 degree 23 minutes and Mars at 14 degrees 18 minutes of Aquarius. We also have the asteroid Ceres, which has to do with how we nurture ourselves. The Mars, Saturn are big heavy hitters going up against Uranus because Taurus is in square to the sign of Aquarius. We're not only going to have weather that's record breaking, like the twin tornadoes in Mississippi on Easter. It's going to be very hard on the body. It's going to be confrontational. It's going to be full of jolts. It is really going to test us in many ways. Venus is going to have dominion over things. With Uranus and with health, we are looking at the circulatory system. We're looking at the pituitary gland. We are looking at venous circulation, the circulatory system overall. We're looking at, if you are into Chinese medicine, you're looking at that bladder meridian that goes down the entire backside of the body. We're also looking at the pancreas and the thyroid, and influence with the spleen. Those are a lot of important body organs and types. So I am concerned that the way the conditions are set, that there's going to be a propensity for strokes and heart attacks, lack of blood flow, lack of oxygen getting to certain organs, especially if the blood is thick and sticky. Need to stay hydrated. I am concerned about metabolism. I'm concerned about the endocrine system. I'm concerned about your muscles and cramping and having enough nutrients. So please do me a favor before we get to this new moon. Can you guys just give yourself maybe a little boost with your routine multivitamins or whatever you do to give your bodies a boost, because you want to enter this new moon strong. You don't want any slack. Okay, so it's kind of like we kind of want to pre-pave this a little bit. Get the bodies ready. And again, that new moon is Tuesday night, the 22nd, 10:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, like I said, circulation, pancreas, blood flow, thyroid, and kidneys because they're ruled by the sign of planet Venus. Venus also rules the women's female reproductive system and the breasts. These things are going to need a boost heading into this new moon, and they will continue to need a boost. Just a second. So again, I am going to do a live stream Tuesday night. I'll probably start I'll start earlier. 9:15, 9:30, giving you guys a heads up. 9:15, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I'm just going to go as long as we can possibly go that evening. I want to make sure we all touch base, we get it off on the right foot. For those of you that have channels or know of others who might be interested in doing their own live streams after this new moon, the thing that comes to mind, like I'm thinking about Jen Lin and her angel meditation guidances. I mean, she would be a great one to do that. Becca from House of Lenormand. I keep thinking about the rose, is it the Jericho rose? I know there's something there. That just is like in my mind. Those of you who do guided meditations or focused prayer, be so helpful as we go Tuesday, Wednesday for the rest of the week, so that we can kind of focus on Venus-related, love-related things, because Venus is in Gemini. Gemini has to do with our neighborhood, our siblings. We already saw the protests and how a weak Venus in Gemini is rebellious, not very kind. We're going to need reinforcements on that front too, collectively. The other thing that Venus rules is money and income. There's going to be some money news. I don't know what, but that's the other thing I want to do with setting out our new moon wishes, to look for innovative ways for money to come in. I don't think we're going to go back to the way things were, because the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, if you guys have been following me, that was the promise of change in our governments and structures. In January is when we had the great Saturn-Pluto conjunction. It's why governments worldwide have been forced to change and adapt, and why institutions have been crumbling, falling apart, but at the same time, rebuilding in new ways. You can see in very small but significant ways how people are adapting and innovating and making new things to get through these problems we're facing. Innovation is also marked by the planet Uranus. It's going to demand Uranus. Or innovation. So we also need to be thinking in terms of money and income and innovative and different ways, and being open to that. Right now, the sun is at 0 degrees Taurus. It's just getting ready to hit the ascendant here. This is a horoscope that was over Washington, D.C. when Saturn and Pluto separated at the Saturn-Pluto conjunction. We haven't had anything like this in thousands of years. This is the way of this new era that we're heading into, that we're ushering in, that we are the observers, the angels literally on earth, who are nurturing this painful crucible of change. But we are all meant to be here for a common good, and this is it. And it feels terrible at times, but this is what we all signed up for. It is a new world order. Change. We all decided we wanted to be part of that change. Even us fixed signs, we signed up for this. Well, what happens is that this new moon is at 3 degrees something minutes of Taurus. You guys know how I always say the ascendant is the sign on the eastern horizon. Like, you know how you watch the sunrise in the east? Well, there's always there's always a zodiac sign to go with that. When these two planets separated, it was Taurus on the ascendant. So Venus, yay, giving us life for our new world order here in the United States, over in Washington, D.C. The New World Order over Washington, D.C. is going to demand that we make these changes quickly. We've already gotten a taste of that by how things have turned upside down just from the new year. The ascendant here is 1 degree, 20 minutes. The sun tomorrow during Judge Reggie Walton's hearing on the statement of whether or not Bill Barr is credible is going to shake everything up, because it's going to be conjunct the ascendant. It is going to be rattle, and it's going to be rattling us for the rest of the week. This is why I need you guys to get a heads up on this, so that you can stay calm from the get-go and centered. And then the next day, before the new moon, Uranus is conjunct. It's right there. Things are going to happen fast. It's going to beam a beam to Jupiter. Oh, God. So it's going to make things even bigger. In the skies in Washington, D.C., we have the POTUS, Pluto and Saturn, Mercury, this is just, and this was 2 days after the eclipses on January 10th. So this will forever be riding on eclipse energy. the month of April has been tough. End of March, April's been tough. We've had a lot of jolts, but that's because the sun was squaring all of this and reactivating this and the eclipses. Now the sun that's been traveling in the 12th house of secrets and hidden enemies, we're going to finally be able to see everything, and it's going to feel shocking. Remember, I've told you, you need to separate Donald as the photos. Do not give him legitimacy by seeing him as being so powerful because all these changes are happening under him. No. He's reacting to it just as we are. He is just a person that happens to be on the stage at a particular time where everything gets to shift again. Don't give him your power. Don't give the MAGAs and everyone else your power. By the way, I want to talk about those protests because everything was staged. Connected the dots on that. It's going to fade away, just like all the propaganda always does. Blow it up, explode by Friday, then poof, like we forget about it by the middle of the week. Okay, anyway. Things are going to be explosive from the get-go. So before we even get to our new moon at 3 degrees Taurus, we as a nation are already going to be having shocking things related to money, sudden change of events. If you have planets in this area, your health is already going to be feeling this before we get to the new moon. Okay, and when we get to the new moon, Tuesday night, that's when everything really is unleashed.